Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, network cutting out at 9 o'clock in the morning. Government puts tax dollars to good use in high-security tech setup. People expect to be able to connect to their home Wi-Fi from anywhere. Simulated troubleshooting, GI style, or how my troops learned to live with solar fade. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Network cutting out at 9 o'clock in the morning. This was back in the 80s, when offices weren't designed with network cabling in mind. Netware and Banyan Vines were battling it out, and you could still smoke in the office. I had a user in the office portion of our warehouse, definitely didn't have cabling in mind when it was built, whose network connection started cutting out between 9 and 9:10 a.m. every morning, starting in November. Sometimes it would come back, sometimes it wouldn't. It was really weird. I swapped the NIC with a known good one, mine. My unit stayed connected while the users continued to cut out. I swapped out the CPU. I rebuilt her hard drive and loaded and reloaded drivers downloaded from CompuServe at $1 million a minute, and no go. Until one morning I was at her desk, waiting for the network connection to die, when I watched a coworker walk in. He started later than everyone else at 9, and hang his coat on the coat rack next to the door, and a few moments later, the connection dropped. I looked at the coat rack, then looked at the floor, and noticed a network cable under one of the legs of the coat rack. I managed to lift the rack just enough to slide the cable out from under the rack, and the connection came back up. It seems the sixth coat on the rack was just enough to pull the cable out of the nearby rack and drop her connection. Just to be safe, I replaced her cable and anchored it to the baseboard with antenna clips. Never had a problem again. Government puts tax dollars to good use in high-security tech setup. So, I'm the sole IT person for a smallish environmental engineering firm. Our company also manages several wastewater plants for counties/townships. There is one particular plant that uses a SCADA system to control plant equipment/functions. This system uses TCP Modbus to interface between the HMI PC and the PLC. I should note TCP Modbus generally does not implement encryption, or even authentication. As such, the actually Modbus decides should generally be on their own network without any direct connection to the internet, and that only contains devices that need to be on said network. The first time I went to this plant, I was called out for some simple tech support stuff, can't remember what exactly what. I was told to look over the networking while I was there, and see if all was good. When I got there I noticed that their main router/firewall was the one built into the modem, not ideal, but no biggie. I asked how I should connect my laptop to the network, and was told to connect to the unsecured Wi-Fi network. Obviously this was a bit alarming to me, so I asked why they had a completely open network. The response I got was that there was a dog pound next door that needed internet, so the county stuck an outdoor AP to the side of the building and pointed it there, and didn't even have the bright idea to put a password on it. I then set about trying to temporarily hobble together some old routers to at least keep our plant behind a firewall from this network, until I could figure out something more proper. As I was swapping cables around, a gentleman came into the plant, somewhat frustrating, saying that internet at the airport had gone down. I said, I'm not sure, we're a wastewater plant. You should check with your ISP. He then informed me that actually, there was a P2P Wi-Fi bridge on the roof that connected the airport to our network. Apparently the county was too cheap to buy them all their own internet, so they threw together a way for us all to share one connection, and just hooked it all into the provided cable modem/router. I was already horrified, but then when continuing my work, I discovered the SCADA system was on the same network that all three entities were sharing. Let me remind you, the Modbus used implement NO authentication, or encryption. You just sent commands to it over TCP/IP and it executed them. So any dipshit with a laptop that was close enough to connect to the unsecured long-range outdoor AP could theoretically connect up and start sending it commands. Obviously they won't know what address goes to what equipment, but if you just say, turn on all the coil registers, used to control relays, you would most definitely cause something really bad to happen. I eventually was able to sort it out and do proper networking, but still. Oh, also the SCADA HMI PC was running XP, 5 years after its EOL. People expect to be able to connect to their home Wi-Fi from anywhere. I work for a decent-sized WISP, obviously I am tech support. A customer of ours calls us and chews me out about how she hasn't had internet all week, and we are a terrible company. I just take it and let her steam out. All the while I bring up her billing and connect to her router to see what the issue is. She stops chewing me out, apologizes, and we move on. I can see she has a Ring doorbell and few IP cameras and nothing else connected. I walk her through the process of connecting her phone to the Wi-Fi. She can't see the SSID though, so I ask her to power cycle her router. She then tells me, "Oh, I can't right now, I'm in Dallas seeing some friends. I'll be home tonight." At this point I think I misunderstood her problem and shouldn't have zoned out while she ranted for 5 minutes. So I ask, is your problem that you can't connect your phone to the Wi-Fi, or that you can't connect to your Ring? She says, "No, my problem is that I can't connect to my home Wi-Fi right now. It always cuts out at the end of my driveway and can never connect to again until I'm home. I need you to come replace that router so it will work." The remainder of that phone call was me trying to explain to her that no Wi-Fi router ever made at this point in time can or will connect to someone over 75 miles away. Simulated troubleshooting, GI style, or how my troops learned to live with solar fade. I was a platoon leader in a US Army signal company during Desert Storm. We used tropospheric scatter microwave communication equipment to create digital trunks between sites. Quite a mouthful, ain't it? My company was the only company in theater that had this equipment, so rather than stay together, like most signal companies, once we hit the sand we scattered like roaches all over the desert. As signal tends to go at that level, you work like hell for about 2 days to get everything set up, link working, camo in place, etc. After that it's weeks of sitting around keeping the shot in, which really means trying not to be bored to death and reacting to any alarms that occur. I was visiting one team. It was getting late in the afternoon, and they were sitting around in the tent playing cards. All of a sudden the alarm on the remote monitoring box went off and the light went from green to red, meaning the signal lock was gone. The shot was down. One of the guys hit a switch to kill the alarm. The light stayed red and they just kept playing cards. I trusted all my team chiefs and didn't say a thing. I waited to see how this played out. Less than a minute later the ops sergeant from the site CP called with instructions to try this and that. Team chief was like, "Sure thing. We'll call you back in a few." They played a few more hands. Team chief called back to CP and told the ops sergeant that didn't work. Ops sergeant gives more instructions. "Sure thing. Play more cards. Call back and say it's still down. Rinse and repeat a few more times." I finally asked the team chief what's up. He says, "Go outside, stand directly behind the antennas, and look in the direction they are pointing." I gave him a slightly confused look. He said, "Trust me LT, you'll figure it out." I came back after doing as he suggested, and the following dialogue ensued. TC equals team chief. Me, the antenna dish is pointing directly into the setting sun. TC, exactly. 20 minutes ago the shot started to degrade. 10 minutes ago it failed. 10 minutes from now it will start to come back, and another 10 after that it will be back at full strength. Me, what was that whole thing with the ops sergeant? TC, we actually tried stuff the first few days this started happening. Then we got Sergeant Mac involved and explained what was happening. Sergeant Mac said that there wasn't anything we could do. The sun is washing out the shot as it sets every day, and we'd either have to live with it for a couple of weeks until the sun shifted further north as it sets, or they would have to reconfigure the network to take this shot out. SGT Mac was a grizzled oldie 7 who was a technical guru on the equipment. No one, not even tech reps from the defense contractor who designed the stuff, knew more than he did about our equipment. Me, I get it. The sun is overloading the receiver. No amount of troubleshooting will fix it. But what was with him giving you stuff to do and you ignoring it? TC, the afternoon OIC, officer in charge, is a real Poindexter and expects us to try all the by-the-book troubleshooting possible despite the fact that we know why this is happening and that there isn't anything we can do about it. He wants to be able to report to his boss that all possible steps were taken to resolve the issue. The ops sergeant and I worked out that he would call and we would pretend we tried. Me, you better hope the OIC doesn't decide to do an on-site inspection while you guys are faking the troubleshooting. TC, no worries LT. He tried that a couple of times early on. The ops sergeant called and lets us know the OIC was on his way. The CP is way over on the other side of the compound, and we are out there messing with the equipment before the OIC can even see our site. I was back a couple of weeks later and the daily outage went away as quickly as it had started, just like Sergeant Mac had predicted. Quick and dirty on solar fade. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.